So we have endpoints of a diameter of a circle, and we want to be able to find the radius of the circle. Let's do it. So again, important to succeed in trig, draw pictures. Very, very important. And here we've got section 5.1, question number 10, and my version has diameter endpoints of -8, -7, and 0, 7, and we need to figure out what the radius is, question mark. So best way to solve this, in my opinion, is to sketch it out. So I'm just going to draw myself a rough sketch. And let's switch colors. -8. Let's say -8 is over here. And -7 would be somewhere down here-ish. And so that's 1 point around there-ish. And then we have the point 0, +7. So that's going to be up here somewhere. So there's the other point. So I know that's the diameter of my circle. So I'm just going to make a rough sketch of the circle that goes through there. It does something like this. Nice circle, Gary. There's Gary's best circle today. We'll get better later. All right, so diameter again passes through the center of the circle. So somewhere over here is the center of the circle. And remember that the diameter is equal to twice the radius, or vice versa. The radius is equal to half of the diameter. So we can just find the distance between those 2 points, and then we only want half of it for the radius. So the length of the diameter here, and remember, the distance formula is just the Pythagorean theorem. So if I just imagine drawing a triangle with horizontal and vertical legs, and that triangle is a right triangle, then I can just use the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to do that first since I have the picture. So to get from -8, -7 to 0, 7, well, I'm going to go horizontally, right? 8 units. So that's the horizontal component of my right triangle. And then vertically, I got to get from -7 to +7. So that's 14. And so according to the Pythagorean theorem in my picture here, the diameter squared has to equal 8 squared plus 14 squared. And I can square 8, 14. I think I'll use a calculator this morning for that one. Come on, Zoom, get out of the way. So we're just going to ask, what is 14 squared to the internet? And the internet replies with a lovely calculator and the answer of 196. Cool. So then I have 64 plus 196. So that's my d squared. Okay, what's that going to give us? We put the 4 over here. That is 260 altogether. And again, good place to double check with a calculator. And the opposite of a square is a square root. So that should be my denominator, my diameter. And so if I want to know the radius, I'm just going to take that square root of 260 and divide by 2. Then the question is, does the computer want an exact answer or an approximate answer? So I'm going to take this a little bit farther with some arithmetic. I'm going to clean up the square root of 260 and then cut it in half and then check it with a calculator. So to clean up a square root, you got to factor it. So 2 goes into 260, 130. 2 goes into 130, 65 times. Done with 2, 6 and 5 is 11, so 3 doesn't work, 5 works. 5 goes into 65, I think 13 times. Okay, so I get a pair of 2's in there. So this factors as twice the square root of 5 times 13, which is 65. 2's kindly divide out, so the exact answer should be the radius is the square root of 65. Let's test that on a calculator. And again, if you see any mistakes in my arithmetic, please chat or voice, say, yo, Parker, what's up? All right, so my first answer was the square root of 260, close parentheses, divide by 2. So I'm getting about 8.062. Let's go to 3 decimal places for fun. 8.062. Write that down. So my first answer was approximately 8.062. Whoa, pen, come on. And then I reduced it to the square root of 65. So let's see if that's correct by just asking the calculator. See if I get the same thing. Square root of 65. Hey, same number. So I'm probably on the right track. Now, again, my recommendation, draw pictures, draw pictures, draw pictures. You could have attacked this problem by just thinking I need the distance formula. So remember, the distance formula is an application of the Pythagorean Theorem, and it says you have a couple of x values, you need to know how far apart they are, and you need to square them. You have a couple of y values from points, and you need to know how far they are apart, right? So we subtract them, and you square them, and then square root of all of that, right? Which is, I actually did all this, right? In this previous page, I just did it by drawing a picture instead of writing down the formula. So my points again were -8, -7, and 0, -7. Did I copy that right? Nope, 0, +7, Gary. Thank you. Ooh, that's a big eraser. Let's get a smaller one. So then plugging in here, I want to take the difference in the x values here. So -8 minus 0. Difference in the y values, -7 minus 7. And really be careful with your signs here. I recommend you write it down, not do it in your head. -8 minus 0 is -8. Squared is +64. -7 minus -7 is -14. Squared, 196. So I'm getting the same thing I did before. Square root of 260 for the diameter. And we know the radius has to be half of that. Now, suppose, let's take this just a step farther for fun. We were asked for the actual whole equation of the circle. All we need to know then is what is the center. And it turns out that is in my picture over here. Now, I didn't identify it. I just said, hey, it's somewhere over there. So key thing about finding the center, and let's pick a new color. Let's go red highlighter. To get to the center, instead of going all the way over and up, I'm just going to go halfway over and halfway up. So I just got to figure out what it means to go halfway over. And I can kind of see that in the picture. All the way over was -8 to 0. So halfway over here should be x equals -4 in my picture. And vertically halfway, instead of going from -7 all the way to 7, I only want to go halfway, which should put me at y equals 0 there. So it looks like the center in my picture is x equals -4, y equals 0. Another way I can confirm that, hopefully recall from a previous math class, that to find the midpoint of a line segment, you just average the two values. So let's take a look at it that way for fun. Center, which is the midpoint, we would just take x2 plus x1 divide by 2, y2 plus y1 divide by 2, and that's my new point, the center. So let's do it. So -8 plus 0 over 2, and then -7 plus 7. Yeah, so -8 plus 0 is -4. If we cut that in half, sorry, I went too fast there. -8 plus 0 is -8 divided by 2, and we get -4. -7 plus 7 is 0, divided by 2 is still 0, so the midpoint formula agrees. That's the center. So then the equation of that circle right here would have to be, let's get a new page actually. This is getting a little busy. Remember, the circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And hk is the center, and obviously r is the radius. So what we know then is we're going to have x minus -4 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals the square root of 65 squared. We can clean that up a little bit. Minus a negative, we can call that x plus 4, but I don't see the point in squaring it out. And then y minus 0 is just simply y, then squared. And if we square a square root, we get just 65. So this would be the equation of the circle in standard form. All right, so we answered that question and took it just a little farther for fun, review of other stuff in this section.